Hey, Bren, thanks for being on the show today. We've known each other since 2016,
It's been a long
and
time.
I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the work you've done recently with the change and with your videos. It's an honor to be on this podcast with you.
Yeah, so you're the founder of the Eden Project. So before we get to that, can you tell us about who you are, your background, and why you're doing what you're doing?
Yep. So the Eden Project, like I'm going to guess many other nonprofits, came out of struggle or trauma, tragedy that I experienced. Um, I started actually. I spent 28 years in the military. I was an enlisted Marine for 8 years, and then I crossed over and got a direct commission in the Army. Spent another 20 years in the Army. I was a medical service corps officer, and then I was in acquisitions. Phenomenal career. I loved what I did. If I could do it again, I would still do it again. But on my last deployment, I was in Iraq, and I was injured pretty bad. So it's hard to people who listen to me, can't see it, and what I'm finding is even looking at me, most people can't tell that I've had most of my face replaced or rebuilt. My right eye's been rebuilt. My nose has been done twice. Both of my cheekbones are implants. My jaws were cut out, rebuilt, put back in. My mouth was wired shut for 8 weeks. The kids loved it during that time. Um, my chin is fake. When they put the chin on, they put it on crooked. So one of the reasons I wear the goatee, it kind of hides the crooked chin. I'm not the only guy, because you work with a lot of veterans as well that went through the physical trauma and that kind of stuff. But it had a pretty profound impact on my career, the end of my career, and then my post military life. When when I got out, I had a great job and some phenomenal training while I was in the military. So I really expected the transition to be super smooth. I thought, I would step into a job and everything would be the same as it had been the last 28 years. But what I quickly found out was life on the outside of the military isn't the same as life inside the military. My humor was different. The culture that I left and then went to in corporate America wasn't the same. So I struggled from that aspect, but I didn't know who I was, and I kind of struggled with trying to figure out my identity, and it caused a lot of problems with my family. The resources that we need, to the extent that we need them, didn't exist, or we couldn't find them. So the marriage at that time ended pretty poorly. Um, and I had a choice to kind of struggle and cope the way that a lot of other guys do with either drugs or alcohol or bad behavior, or create something. So we created the Eden Project.
Oh, well, thank you for your service and especially to share your traumas, not only physical but emotional, and for you to take your struggle and be able to take what you've done
Mm,
to overcome that challenge and to continue to work through it and tell other people like we are here to help.
yeah,
So thank you for your service, but also for being able to pay forward what
mm,
you needed but were unable to find elsewhere.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, and so kind of catch me up to where you're at today and what's going on with the Eden Project.
So I retired in 2013, spent 3 years, going through what I call the struggle.
Mhm.
Um, but early 2016, a friend of mine and I got together and we realized that not just me and not just him, but several of the people that we knew at that time were having the same type of issues. So in 2016, we started the Eden Project. The main focus was here in Fayette County, Coweta, Spalding, but we serve veterans really all across Georgia. And in the early days, because I know so many people across the country, we were serving vets in Fort Hood, out in Texas, and Marines in California. So we had a pretty big reach. But our real focus is right here in Fayette County. The what we like to tell folks is we're a one-stop shop for the veteran community. And I say veteran community, so it's veterans and their families. So if someone needs help with a VA claim, they can come to us. If they need a job, food, housing, clothing, or that peer support, they can come to us. We're that one-stop shop. And from there, we have 27 partners. One of them is you,
Mhm.
that we're able to reach out to and say, hey, this is beyond what we do. Here's an expert that really focuses on that particular need. But instead of the vet, trying to know all the 27 or however many people are out there, they can come to us, and then we can help them find the resources that they need.
Right. That's wonderful. And we shared office space for a few years,
Yeah, it was
even through the pandemic.
4 or 5 years. When I was looking back at that, I thought, "Holy cow, that was a great time," because I do love that part of it. When we have, a vet, so we have the peer group is what we specialize in.
Right.
If someone needs help with a VA claim, they come to us, we take the information, and then we connect them with a specialist that deals with that. But we have our own peer program that we specialize in,
Mhm.
and when they go beyond what the peer can provide, we have you that we can say, "Hey, listen, this is what we're seeing. Can you help take care of that?" And in the 8 years, you've done a phenomenal job working with our veteran community.
Oh, well, thank you. It's always an honor to serve our veterans and the veteran community. My grandfather served in World War II, and he was one of the only survivors of his unit from in the
Wow.
Battle of the Bulge.
Mhm.
So due to medical issues on my part, I was unable to serve. But it's been one of my main missions as a therapist to serve our veteran community because my grandfather never talked about his
Right,
time in the war and his time serving our country. And I can't imagine the traumas that he experienced, but he never shared with anyone.
right.
And so that's one of the main reasons why I'm very passionate about serving the veteran community.
Yeah.
So thinking about my grandfather, culturally, our veterans, they resist asking for help.
Yep.
So how can veterans overcome that challenge?
Well, that's a great question. And as veterans specifically, but I think men in general, we're taught to suck it up, be tough, deal with it, just push on. We're not taught, at least, the 28 years that I served, that was the message that we were always told, that whether it was a physical pain or an emotional issue, just deal with it yourself and move on. So what we really push, and I know you do the same thing, but what we're very intentional about is telling our vets that, one, they're not alone. That we all deal with trauma, we all deal with issues differently. That hiding it is never the answer, burying it is never the answer. That just letting it go, or finding someone to talk to, is the first step in getting through it. And typically that's where we are able to come in and work with the guys and gals that we work with, is once they acknowledge that, then they'll come to us and they'll start talking in the peer group. If it looks like something in the peer group is beyond what the group can deal with, then we let them know, hey, there's other resources. Are you interested in talking to somebody else about this? And 9 times out of 10, because they've already started the process with us, they're able to move on to something else if needed. But just really telling them, I think telling them that they're not alone really kind of breaks down that barrier. Letting them know that there's people that have been through something, not the exact same thing, but
Uh,
they've been through stuff like that, kind of makes that bond or that connection, and it gives them the freedom to open up and talk.
Right. One of the reasons why I enjoy partnering with you is nobody knows a veteran like another veteran.
That's right.
And as a person who was unable to serve, being able to partner with others that have and others that do have that peer support, it it makes a veteran feel less alone.
Yep.
And you alluded to it earlier, but you had about 3 years just of detaching from the
Mhm.
military, and I can imagine that that felt very isolating, especially going through divorce and
Yep.
recreating yourself. Yeah.
It was tough, and like you said, that was a tough, lonely part, and I didn't know at that time that there were other people like you that I could reach out to. Um, I could we would commiserate with other, the guy that I mentioned earlier,
Uh-huh.
but at that point, it was more we were complaining, and the
Mhm.
things were getting worse. They weren't getting better.
Right.
So once we have that process kind of worked out, we know that talking to another veteran is a great first step.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so in your peer groups, I know that you do a lot of different things, and part of being in the military is building a team. So what was your favorite team building activity that you've done
Wow.
recently in your groups?
Man, that's a great question. We've had some really, really cool events this past year. Um, One of them, we partner, like I said, we like to partner with our community and do other stuff. We don't want to just keep everything we do internal to the Eden Project.
Mhm.
So one issue, and I'll talk about two of them because
Yeah,
they both are pretty awesome.
absolutely.
We part Southern Conservation Land Trust.
Mhm.
They have this big project, but no people. We have people, but don't have the projects.
Right.
So I contacted them and said, "Here's what we're looking to do." As our peer groups, one of the requirements in the group is to do a community service project.
Mhm.
So internally to the group, each group has to do something. So we went out and helped the Southern Conservation Land Trust clear some of the path area at the Nature's Ridge here in Fayetteville. So that was fun, and it was really cool and bonding. And there's nothing like bonding over sweating and pulling weeds and being miserable outside in the heat.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we did that was just really life changing was about 9 months ago, we built a raised garden for a combat wounded amputee that's here in Fayette County.
Wow.
We were contacted by an organization out of Tennessee. Similar issue. They had the vet who needed help. They had all the building material, but they didn't have the people to do the work.
Right.
And that's where the community kind of came together. And I think 15 or so of us went out there and built this beautiful garden for him and his family. I mean, it was when I
Mhm.
say life changing, it impacted us for because we got to do the work,
Uh,
but him and his family now have a raised garden that they can work on together. It was really fun.
Wonderful. Yeah, so the project didn't stop after
That's
it
right.
was completed. It helped the veteran and his family be able to invest in, veteran in vegetables, fruits,
Yeah,
flowers, whatever they
yeah.
want, and life giving.
When we were done, it gave them a way to bond as a family. So as a family, they go out and they pull weeds and plant the vegetables or whatever they are. So yeah, it's one of those gifts that keeps on giving kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So since I am a therapist, I don't want to miss the opportunity to ask. Um, so, how do you work with counselors and therapists in collaboration with your programs?
Well, so I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but this is kind of how I see it, and I've coached our peer group leaders to do the work. I look at what we do as kind of the first step or the first door to open to
Mhm.
get to programs like you offer, the deeper level things that a lot of vets need to work on. Peer group is phenomenal, but we can't do the things that you do. We're super careful to let people know that we're therapeutic, but we're not therapy.
Mhm.
We start every program, and then we mention it several times through the program that it's not counseling. This is just peer support. But when we get to that certain point and somebody either comes to us and says, "Hey, I need more help,"
Right.
or we recognize that it's beyond what we do,
Mhm.
um, the first thing I ask is, "Can I reach out to somebody for you? Do you mind if we make that connection?" And then
Mhm.
we connect them. We connect them. Usually with you, but if there's other things that they prefer, the VA or something else. But
Right.
I know because I've known you for so long, I
Mhm.
know the work you've done. I've talked with guys that you have worked with in the past, and I get this just raving review. So I'm super comfortable referring them to people that I would want to send my own family to, and they do.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for saying that. And we are not the only helpers in the community, but it always is an honor when your name pops up on my phone or in my email saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, I've got somebody that your office can help.
Yep.
Um, who would be the best fit for this person?" And that is our goal: is to find the best fit for every referral that we get.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so, yeah, we talked about it a little earlier, but, navigating TRICARE and the VA,
Mm.
that is a constant thing that our veterans, talk about when they come to us.
Yep.
And so what advice do you have, for veterans that are wanting to navigate TRICARE and the VA?
That's You're right. That's one of the number one issues or questions that we have is they've tried it on their own, and they almost 90% of the time they just want to give up. But they have one more option, and that's usually when they call us, and they're
Uh,
like, "Now what do we do?" Um, so the first thing is don't give up. That's the first thing we tell them.
mhm,
What I think what we found works the best is if they can find a partner who's done this before,
mhm,
people who specialize in this. Don't let the system get in the way. Find
mhm,
someone who knows how to work the system and work with them.
right.
So again, stop shop. If they want to call us, we're more than happy to get them connected with the right agency or professional that can get their claim through.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And what we've noticed, because I'm a non-network certified provider for TRICARE,
Mhm.
and a lot of times what we've found is that our veterans, that there's a couple different levels of TRICARE, but a lot of times the copay is between $40 and $60 if they were to go in network. But
Mhm.
when they come and work with a non-network certified provider, they're responsible for the fee up front, but then they get reimbursed anywhere between 70 to 80% after they've reached their deductible. And what we found is a lot of times that after they're reimbursed, it's comparable to or even less than what their copay would be by going
Mm.
in network. It really just depends on, is the veteran able to or willing to advocate for themselves
Yep.
uh, in working with the out of network person. And it's tough. So,
It is tough, and I think what you said is the number one thing. I don't know where we picked it up, but somewhere along the way, we picked up that we're not worth advocating for ourselves.
mhm,
Everybody I talk to will break their back helping somebody else, but it's when they come to advocating for themselves, they're like, "No, someone else needs it more."
mhm.
But that's where you and I and people like us need to jump in and say, "You are worth it. You do need to advocate for yourself, and let us help you, and we'll work on this together."
Absolutely. Yeah. So Bren, I really enjoy our partnership and working together and what we do. And as a outside observer, one of the programs that you have, that you developed a game and that
Yeah.
helps build camaraderie with the people in the group, but also at home. Can you talk a little bit about the game that you
Yeah.
developed?
It's called Warrior Spirit, and super, super proud that one of our board members and to learn about doing and why doing it, and that's what she specializes in is developing games like that. she's a therapist in New York, and
Mhm,
so she's taken questions that are similar to what someone might ask in a counseling session, and
mhm,
put them on cards,
mhm,
and we use those cards in a group setting, in our peer group setting. And
mhm,
people, it's marine proof. There's 6 sides to a dice, and there's 6 questions to each card. So if they
mhm.
roll a 3, they look at number 3 on the card, and they
Uh-huh,
ask that question. What
yeah,
we found is, because it's a game and because it's people in the room, their defenses are usually down, and they're not anticipating what they think the therapist is expecting them to say. And
mhm,
you can probably go into more detail and the dynamics of what that looks like. But it's been one of the most powerful things that we do within our peer group.
mhm.
Um, we give them about an hour, and almost every single time at the end of the hour, they're like, "No, can we play some more? Like, we got to get on to the next lesson."
That's awesome. Yeah, and then also you've created a gratitude journal,
Mm,
and as a counselor, we talk about the ability to hardwire happiness and change our thinking.
yep.
And you created a great resource, and I'll put a link to it in the description of the video. But can you talk about your gratitude journal?
Yeah, you caught me hard with that one.
Yeah.
If you go back to maybe one of your previous podcasts, what I love about our community is is the fact that it's a community, and we're all saying the same thing but a little bit different, and
Mhm,
everybody can kind of get the information they need, um, through you, through me, and whatever. So I was watching one of your videos recently, and it talked about 80% of our thoughts are negative,
mhm,
and unchecked, that's how we go day after day after day. So our gratitude journal is focused on maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and I prefer the morning. Some people do it later on in the day, but whenever's best. But take 5 to 10 minutes and focus on the good things that are in your life, and that will start the process, like you just now mentioned, of helping to rewire our brains, how we think, and really the outlook that we have for the rest of the day when we're focusing on the positive things and the things we're grateful for.
right. That's awesome. Yeah, and I'll make sure to put a link in the description for that.
Mm,
And it is a valuable resource, and I recommend it to almost every client
right.
because we need to rewire our brains to be able to overcome that 85-95 thesis.
Yep.
85% of our thoughts are negative, 95% are recycled from yesterday. Uh,
Wow. Yep.
and so and so how we intentionally think can change our lives, because if we just passively
Yep.
think, we can be our own worst enemies.
That's
So
right. Yep.
yeah. Yeah,
So we
so
pulled the concept of the journal out of a lot of the work that you do too. So it's been a really powerful tool for the folks we work with.
good, good. Yeah, yeah, I'd love for you to do a call to action. How can we help you, and how can we help the Eden Project?
Well, we mentioned earlier that for we shared an office for a couple years, and we both have outgrown that space.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in that spot that locally, if anybody has space or knows of space or can help us brainstorm how to come up with a dedicated office space where we can have. Right now, we're limited to how many programs we can run,
Mhm.
but there's way more people than we have space for. So we're only able to reach about 4 of the population that needs us. But if we had a dedicated space, we could probably reach more people. So that's a short-term need, but we're always looking for volunteers. If people want to come out and help on one event, or be more involved and help a little bit every week over time, we'd love to hear from them.
Wonderful. Well, Bren, thank you for being a guest on the show, and you always do add value whenever we spend time together, but especially collaborating care for our clients and your veterans. So, thank you for what you do.
Thanks, Adam, and I appreciate all that you're doing for our community as well.